and I've found a way to be a voice for others in similar situations like my own. And I've also chosen to forgive. But although I've forgiven and found peace, not a day goes by that I can forget what happened. And it surely doesn't help that although he is in jail, every time I'm making new connections with friends, coworkers, even my clients in real estate, somehow, some way, somebody controlling Ashton Big's Snapchat account, and or his friends are reaching out to me via Instagram, telling me how I've concocted a series of lies and evidence, and have even sent out a link with official documents, and is saying that I put him in jail unrightfully. This is actually the first time he has admitted to even doing the crime.
That is the voice of the survivor standing up and leaving a mic drop to this predator who did to her when she was just 16 years old, now looking to get out 6 years early. We'll unpack it with all the details at the end.
You are classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 10-year sentence. You were sentenced in Calcasieu Parish, June of 2022 for carnal knowledge of a juvenile. You do have a parole eligibility date, which has passed. It was September 21st, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is May 22nd, 2030. Does that information sound correct to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So how old are you, Mr. Biggs?
I'm 25.
How long you been in jail?
4 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
4 years.
4 years. So you served 4 years of your 10-year sentence. And you do you have a child?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
She's 6. Is it a 6-year-old daughter?
Yes, ma'am. Her name is Kendall.
So when you were originally arrested, you charged as for a misdemeanor offense.
Yes.
Later, that was amended to a felony.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all here today. Now, at the time, you said you've been in jail 4 years, so you were 21 at the time of the offense?
No, I was 20 at the time of the offense, and I was arrested after I turned 21.
Okay, so you're 20. So at the time, how old was the victim in this case?
16. About to be 17.
But she was 16, okay? And you knew she was 16, right?
Yes.
And how did you come to know the victim?
She had messaged me on social media.
So you met through social media?
Yes, ma'am.
And since your arrest in jail, have you had any contact at all with Ms. Matt through directly or indirectly?
No.
So since you've been in jail 4 years, what programs have you been able to take that would help you?
I have signed up for every program that there is, every job that comes around, every class that you can take. I have signed the paper. At this facility, if you can't earn good time, they won't let you take any classes because people that earn good time take precedence, you know. So, but I did do that. And then when I got my trustee position, I talked to the captain and tried to enroll. And he said there was nothing he could do. So,
What's your job?
I'm the law librarian.
Okay.
In May Council.
How long have you had that job?
6 months.
What'd you do before that?
Try to keep my head on straight.
So you didn't have a job?
The law librarian job came after I've been helping people do law work since I got here at River Bend for the past 2 years. And there was another law librarian. And then when he got shipped, I was recommended for the job.
What's your level of education?
I graduated high school and then I took some technical classes and I have a certification in drilling fluids engineering. That's what I used to do. I used to be a mud engineer in the oil field.
So, do you have a substance abuse problem?
Not anymore. had adopted substance abuse after this situation occurred in February of 2019, and some other things occurred in my life, and I kind of just stopped caring. And I
You-
did
So at the time of this crime, you were not under the influence of any substance?
alcohol.
Yeah.
But I'm moving on. I was referring to other things other than alcohol, drugs.
Right.
Later on in my life,
Was your drug of choice?
cocaine.
And since you've been in jail, have you ever been drug tested?
Yes, ma'am. Passed every single one of them.
What's your conduct records look like?
0.
You've been there, it looks like you were sentenced, yeah, you've been there pretty much at River Bend since you've been in jail,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Well, there's opposition to an early release for you. The district attorney's office says you've not served enough time on your 10-year sentence. The law enforcement is opposed. What would you say to that?
Yeah. I don't know what their opinion, that's their opinion, but to me, I've changed as a person. And the person that went to jail 4 years ago is definitely not the person now. So if they are making that recommendation based on the person that was 4 years ago, then I can understand why they would make that recommendation, but now I'm a different person.
How so?
I just come to terms with a lot of things in life, and regardless of what happened, it was my fault. I was there, I participated, and I can't control anybody else's part of it, but it was my fault. If I wouldn't have been there, none of this would have happened. And I had to change. I had to work on myself because this is not the type of life that I want for myself.
Where's your daughter?
She's with her mother.
Do you have any contact with either of them?
I do talk to my daughter every now and then when she is with Ms. Richard. We have video visits and talk on the phone. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm gonna let me look and see if my colleagues has any questions. I don't see that there's any questions on the board. So we'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. We'd like to hear from your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. My name's Kelly Richard, and I'm Ashton's mother. In the past 4 years, since I've seen him be in jail and incarcerated, I have seen a great maturity come in him and taken responsibility for his actions. And I recommend that he does get out because I know he has an incredible support system between his family and his church family. And his little girl has been asking for him to come home. She misses him, as we all do. And he does have several jobs lined up, one through my company and one through my husband, his stepfather, who is a supervisor at the plants. So he has a lot of potential and a lot of support for when he comes home. And I do believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is different than he was 4 years ago. His attitude, the way he talks, the way he looks at everything. And he also has been in correspondence with Texas Bible College. And one of the mentors at our church did offer to pay for his classes if he enrolled. So I know he's been in correspondence with them. And we pray and hope that y'all take into consideration. And this is his first time ever being in trouble. And wrong place, wrong time. He should have never been there. But we do ask that you consider his release. Thank you.
Ma'am, and thank you. We appreciate your input. Now, Ms. East? You're on mute.
Got
There
it.
you- Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Anna East, and I've known Ashton for 25 years. I helped raise him in his earlier years, and um, I think he would be good to get out because he isn't, like his mom said, he has never been in trouble before, and we helped support him while he's in jail, all three of us, for 4 years. And I know that he made a mistake. And I do believe he has rehabilitated himself and grown as a person while he's in there. He's very talented, very smart. He works in the law library at Rapides. And I helped him by calling like the court or DOCs for him while he helped the people in jail with him. Um, and I and his dad uh, agreed that he would be good. You know, he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. I think he has learned, and we'll support him when he gets out as much as we can. And that's all.
Ma'am, thank you so much for your remarks. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Before we move to the opposition, Mr. Biggs, is there anything else you would like to say before we move on?
I'm sorry to everybody involved, not just Madeline, but her family and my family, because they are collateral damage, our families. And they didn't deserve any of this. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. I'd have been minding my own business. It's my fault, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. So at this time, I assume that Madeline and Mr. Alexander are together. I'll let you choose who wants to speak first.
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
But my mother is also in the Zoom, and I know she has something to say as well.
Okay.
Okay. I wrote something up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. Unfortunately, every time his name comes up, me, my fiance, and my entire family's body tense up because each time the feelings of that entire chapter is filled with pain, anxiety, and suffering. It's all reopened all over again. I could sit here all day long and paint y'all a picture of truly how much emotional, mental, and even physical trauma this all has caused. I'll keep it short though. Over the past 6 years, I've experienced sleepless nights, therapy. I've had strain on my relationship, PTSD episodes. I fear to even be alone with any man, including those in my own family who have given me no reason to be. I've lost myself. I've had panic attacks, dissociation, nightmares, and I could seriously go on and on and on. But on the flip side, I've also found myself. I've found a sense of peace in this entire situation, and I've found a way to be a voice for others in similar situations like my own. And I've also chosen to forgive. But although I've forgiven and found peace, not a day goes by that I can forget what happened. And it surely doesn't help that although he is in jail, every time I'm making new connections with friends, coworkers, even my clients in real estate, somehow, some way, somebody controlling Ashton Biggs' Snapchat account, and or his friends are reaching out to me via Instagram, telling me how I've concocted a series of lies and evidence, and have even sent out a link with official documents, and is saying that I put him in jail unrightfully. This is actually the first time he has admitted to even doing the crime. So I've had my name, my family's name, my partner's name, our pictures blasted all over social media, all while he has been in jail. My only fear is that if my reputation, which I might add is my entire career, can be destroyed by lies, if I or others, my friends, the DA, can receive threatening calls and messages by him and friends. If I can live in fear now, what is my life going to look like when he gets out? I truly can't find myself leading a normal life. I have 3 months until I get married, and instead of happily celebrating and planning, I've been anxiously awaiting today to see if this is the day I need to pack up my life and leave to escape the damage that he would do if he gets out. All this being said, I could give you 100 exhibits of why somebody like him should not get off so easy. Evidence of my torment, 6 years of my medical bills to prove the trauma. But instead, I really just pray that God gives y'all the discernment to make the right decision here.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that thought impact. Do you want Alexander to go next or your mom?
Yes, Alex can go next.
Before I make my statement, I want whomever may be listening to this to truly listen and put yourself in Madeline's and me, her fiance's shoes. Listen as a human being who has love and feelings for other people. Listen as a father, a mother, a sibling, a husband, a wife, grandmother, grandpa, etc. How would you feel if that person you love so dearly was in the situation Madeline's in right now? Me and Maddie became friends not too long after the sexual assault with Ashton Biggs. We later started to date and eventually became a very close couple. She is now my girlfriend and fiance of almost 4 years. I met Maddie as a very sweet and strong, but scared and timid young woman. I knew something was always on her mind and weighing her down since the day I met her. It took months for her to come to me with what had happened. The first time I heard this story, it broke my heart, made me angry, and it just made me question humanity. How could somebody do this, I have grown extremely close with her family over the last 4 years. After getting to know her and her family, I have learned and been told the person she used to be. Before being raped, Maddie was outgoing, always wanting to help others before herself, and truly saw no wrong in any human on this planet. Just a sweet, young, innocent girl trying to find her purpose in this world. Ever since the rape committed by Ashton Biggs, she has never been the same. Her innocence was truly robbed from her at such a young age by a true monster that is named Ashton Biggs. I cannot count the amount of times that she has woken up sweating, crying, and pleading for it to stop, for the nightmares of the sexual assault replaying in her dreams to just stop. It's a heartbreaking thing to watch. Knowing I can't do anything to make it stop or leave her head, all I can do is hold her and tell her it's going to be okay, which it is not okay. Nothing will ever be okay about rape. There have been nights where she has wakened in the middle of the night in such a bad nightmare that she thought I was Ashton Biggs. It takes me begging and pleading her to stop before she finally realizes that I am not him, to realize I'm her fiance, and she grabs me and cries. To this day, Madeline does not feel safe around any male humans because of this disgusting crime committed by Ashton Biggs. The sentence Ashton Biggs received was a slap on the wrist, in my opinion, and a lot of others as well. 10 years for raping a 16-year-old girl is beyond me. I'd be willing to bet and would like to think anyone with a wife, a girlfriend, a mother, a child, etc., would wholeheartedly agree with me. agree that 4 years in prison and then to be released on parole for such a crime is a joke. And the fact that he is trying to get out on parole is honestly scary and a slap in Madeline's face. How would you feel if your child, wife, or mother was raped? Not only was she raped, but after this horrible act was committed, Ashton Biggs proceeded to threaten Madeline. Not just threats to ruin her name or threats to call her a liar and ruin her reputation. Not even physical threats, just physical threats. Ashton Biggs threatened Madeline with her life. Ashton Biggs threatened to kill Madeline if she ever spoke about the rape to anyone. And if she did speak about it and he ended up in jail, he told her he would, and he told her that it would be the last day that she saw light. The fact that he is up for parole is once again mind-blowing to me. 4 years out on parole is mind-boggling to me.
Mr. Hurt, can you wrap it up for us, sir?
Yes, I'm on my last one. The innocence of a child was completely robbed from her, and she now lives in constant fear from this. I could go on for hours talking about this, but this is the end of what I have to say today. I hope you genuinely listened as someone with a mother, a daughter, a wife, and a family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, and Miss Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. February 14th, 2019, I went to bed not knowing that when I woke up, my family's lives would be changed forever. We spent the next 1,024 days on a roller coaster of emotions, heartache, and fear, not only for our daughter, but our entire family. When I sat in the courtroom and listened to the judge read Mr. Biggs' sentence, I finally felt like I could breathe. Not only would he serve time for his actions that forever changed my daughter, but I was also hopeful that he would receive the support and help he needed. Receiving the phone call less than 1 year after his sentencing, informing me that he was up for a parole hearing was gut-wrenching. Every emotion, heartache, and fear felt before was back stronger than ever. I do thank God each and every day for the mercy he granted Madeline that night, knowing all too well that we could have experienced a very different outcome. But regardless of the poor decisions she made that night to get into a vehicle with someone she knew only from social media, she did not deserve the things that were to come. She did not deserve to be threatened by Mr. Biggs about saying anything, nor did she deserve to be repeatedly called a liar about what happened that night. Yes, her scratches, bruises, and soreness did eventually heal, but the emotional scars have not. Madeline would carry the emotional scars and anxiety stemming from that night for her the rest of her life. It is evident by Mr. Biggs' social media post and by the music he wrote and performed that women, regardless of age, are mere objects for his personal pleasure and satisfaction. They are just another notch in his belt or another verse in one of his grotesque songs. No one deserves to ever experience the narcissistic destruction of Mr. Biggs. As a mother, I prayed that while he was in custody, he had time to think about what happened and truly felt remorse for what he did and that he wanted to change his ways. My biggest question is how in less than 1 year of serving a 10-year sentence has Mr. Biggs changed? What has he done to better himself? What courses has he completed? What has he learned? Mr. Biggs is not remorseful. He does not feel he has done anything wrong. He 100% feels that he has been wrongfully accused, and he has stated that multiple times. The anxiety and fear of what our family will face when Mr. Biggs is released makes me physically ill. I not only fear for the well-being and emotional health of my daughter and our other children, but for my own health. Due to the appalling actions of Mr. Biggs, as well as what he has managed to orchestrate while in custody, has caused me to experience panic attacks, high blood pressure, stress-induced inflammation, lupus flares, as well as nightmares. When I receive a phone call from Madeline crying hysterically because she saw someone who resembled Mr. Biggs or has received a message from one of his acquaintances, that horrific night replays in my head over and over again. The steps, growth, and progress I felt we have made all come crumbling down, and in that moment, it feels as though it is once again the morning of February 15th, 2019. Will we let Mr. Biggs control the rest of our lives? Absolutely not. But he will always have taken something from our entire family that can never be made whole. I'm one who always tries to find a silver lining, but I'm going to be 100% honest with all of you. Looking for something positive that could possibly come from this horrific nightmare has not been easy. The past 5 years have brought many tears, but it's those tears that have been the fuel needed to hopefully make a difference in the lives of other women in our community who have fallen victim to sexual assault. It's our family's experience and a story that has been used to make a positive impact on the life of even one victim. This ongoing emotional roller coaster has been worthwhile. As the mother who has watched Mr. Biggs nearly destroy our family, I respectfully ask that Mr. Biggs continue his sentence and take advantage of the help and resources available to him while in custody. Due to continued accusations, threats, and refusal to take responsibility for his actions, I would like for you to ensure that a lifetime protective order for Madeline not be removed. I ask this not only for my daughter and our family, but for all sexual assault victims afraid to speak up. Mr. Biggs, I have not yet forgiven, but I pray every day that God gives me the mercy in my heart and the spiritual strength to do so. I pray for your young daughter and that she never experiences the horrific things that you did to my daughter. And I pray that you one day realize that yes, you were responsible for what happened and that you do take advantage of any classes available to you. And that when it is time for you to be released, you have genuinely changed your ways. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Mr. Biggs, I think we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first, and I've listened very carefully to everybody who said anything today, including you. And early on, I asked you if you'd had any contact with Madeline, either directly or through a third party, and you said no. And we've heard otherwise, and there's information contained in the record that I was able to review that would indicate otherwise as well. Your family has indicated that you've not been in trouble before, but you do have some other prior arrests and convictions. You've not had the opportunity, I will agree, for programming that you need to help you out, in particular sex offender treatment. And I know they don't offer it there. And you've explained why you haven't been in programs because you don't get the good time credit for it. I cannot vote to grant your parole without you having some of those programs, in particular the sex offender treatment. My vote today, based on that and the opposition that's been expressed here today, is going to be to deny your parole with the recommendation that you be moved to a facility that will afford you the program opportunities. That's my vote. Mr. Prater?
I concur with your vote to deny. My reasons would be those, plus the fact that I think just the amount of time he served on a 10-year sentence that was given, and the judge specifically said without benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. And I think that should mean something. And my vote to deny.
Mrs. Stapleton?
My vote is going to be to deny today too. And I agree with Mr. Prater. The fact that the judge added without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence meant that the judge thought it was going to be 10 years, just like the victim, Madeline, and her family did. Madeline, you showed a great deal of courage today to speak out. And I don't know if you're going to turn this into a purpose and a passion for yourself, but you are a very strong young lady. And your fiance and your mother for speaking on your behalf, that was very courageous of both of you. And we listened also to Mr. Biggs and his family. So I'm hoping that, like Miss Renata said, that you will be able to be moved to a facility where you will be able to get the classes that you say that you want. But today, my vote is going to be deny based upon victim opposition, law enforcement opposition. You haven't served enough time and you need more classes in sex offender.
All right, Mr. Biggs, today the vote's to deny your parole. We'll make the recommendation for a transfer for you. Good luck to you, sir.
The transfer, I had been screened for the young adult program at Elaine Hunt's correctional facility.
Now, we're just going to make a recommendation to the Department of Corrections. We don't choose where you go. So, all right, and that concludes our business there at River Bend. We're going to sign off at 12:17.
I love what Carolyn Stapleton said. The new victim or survivor advocate, the one who replaced Mr. O'Shea, she went right to the point, talking about Madeline and even suggesting that maybe this is something that you would take up on, being a voice, being an advocate for survivors. Man, I thought she spoke just so elegantly and so did her fiance. What a cute couple, and mom as well. And we'll go over the court transcripts and the appeal, which he won partially, which gave him the opportunity of parole, because the judge did initially say 10 years flat, but he won that part of the appeal, which allowed him to have this parole opportunity. Now, there's it's interesting. We had the survivor, Madeline, call out that this is the first time that Mr. Biggs ever admitted to guilt. But let me read to you what he said, because I wrote it down. If you call this admission, he said, regardless of what happened, it was my fault. I was there. I participated. I can't control anybody else's part of it. If I wouldn't have been there, none of this would have happened. That's his admission of guilt at his parole hearing. Sir, Mr. Biggs, you sexually assaulted a child. What are you talking about? I mean, regardless of what happened, it was my fault. I was there. I participated. I can't control anybody else's part. That is not an admission of guilt. That is a side-handed. That was awful. I wish someone would have called him out on it. What happened was, and let's go through the facts. And this is like everyone's worst nightmare with the daughter. It really is. I think. Remember, she's just 16. So what happened was, is he's a fake, musician. I checked out his pages. He sucks. Let's just put it that way. And I was thinking of playing his horrible music, but I don't even want to give him that. But as a child, a little someone with a guitar who sing, it's cool. I think we've all experienced that. And he gets her to sneak out of her house at night, which, come on, I mean, who hasn't done that? But she sneaks out on the street at night, gets into the car with him. He's 20, she's 16. She takes him to a house party where he gives her alcohol and then also a vape pen with a high concentration of THC. Now, once she took the vape pen, that is when everything became fuzzy. The next thing that she does remember is that she's at his house, face down, and he's on top of her. She says that she was in and out of consciousness throughout the night, and that's, and she immediately reported it. This wasn't something that, sometime later, which is still completely valid, but I think it brings, she immediately reported it. She immediately got a test, and they tested her toxicology, and that's where they found that, she had a very high concentration of THC, even 12 hours later. And that's basically it. Now, what happened, what's interesting is, I do believe that the DA and his defense attorney were totally shocked by this sentence. I mean, let's be real. We have seen, it was pled down to carnal knowledge of a juvenile. And we have seen, frankly, we have seen where you just get probation. We have seen fathers do it to their own little children. We have seen where it's 2 years old, 3 years old, 4-year-old little girls. and people don't get such harsh sentences. So he was, I too believe, you know, that probably everybody in that courtroom except for the judge was completely shocked to hear that he would get 10 years in prison. But so what happened is that, as previously noted, the state acknowledges the trial court lacked the authority to deny the defendant parole eligibility. Okay. This was his appeal. He raised two points. One was that his illegal sentence, and the other was that it was excessive, and it was illegal. According to Louisiana legislation, you can't give a sentence for carnal knowledge of the juvenile without the ability for parole. So here it says it right here in the legislation. Whoever commits the crime of a felony, carnal knowledge of a juvenile, shall not be fined more than $5,000. Keep in mind, this is what's written in Louisiana law. No. You can't be fined more than $5,000 or imprisoned with or without hard labor for not more than 10 years. So you see again here, the law does not allow a sentence of longer than 10 years, and you do need to have a parole eligibility. So this is why, you know, the judge straight up made an illegal sentence. And it is confusing to me. How does that happen? How does a judge not know the law? How does the judge not understand it? Was it an intentional thing where the judge stated it just to make a point, knowing that it could be overturned on appeal? Like, I am confused how that happens, and how even the defense attorney doesn't understand the law to make an immediate objection. But, you know, that's just interesting things about laws. So he won that appeal. Then the other appeal he lost, which he actually claimed that he was still innocent. And that he only took the plea deal because his defense attorney told him that he would probably just get probation with time served. Which, frankly, we've seen sentences handed down like that hundreds of times. So I'm not, you know, this was his first offense. She was turning 17 in 3 months from the time of the offense. He turned 21 shortly after. And, you know, he would have said, oh, it was consensual. You know, his whole story, he claims he was innocent. But the judge didn't buy it. The judge didn't like it. And the judge gave him the maximum sentence, even an illegal sentence, as you can see here, that it's affirmed. And then they made it reflect. And that's why he's eligible for parole now. But the family had no idea, right? They would have just gotten a letter, and you hear how it affects her. She's, you know, and I believe every second of it that he's, and I'm glad that Mr. Natsa called him out on it, saying that he was lied because people were contacting her. They are threatening her. They are making her. You hear the pain that she's going through, that she so elegantly stated. And really, he's not taking accountability at all. And this is part about why we do this, you know, seeing the survivor stand up with that kind of confidence and that power and that ability to really, I think, I don't know if it's take back control or if it's what it might be for her in particular, but I know for me, and maybe a lot of you watching this, it was empowering. And again, that's part of why we do this. And with that, I'll let you go.
So, Ms. Cambridge, you are classified as a 5th felony offender. You're currently serving a 15-year sentence. You were sentenced in April of 2021, possession of methamphetamines, aggravated obstruction of highway, and a 4th operating a vehicle while intoxicated offense. Your parole eligibility date is July 1st, 2024, and your good time release date is September 3rd, 2025. All that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Would you answer his questions?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to go over a little bit of, won't take a long time doing this, but it seems like you've had quite a few arrests and being a fifth felony offender. Of course, you know, you'd have to agree to that. A lot of them involve DWIs, drugs, and you know, a couple of times injuring people while I assume you were driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Is that correct?
No, sir. I've never injured anyone. I've never had an accident in any of my DWIs. I've never injured anyone.
Okay, I saw a first degree vehicle injury arrest on 10 of 2020. What was that about?
That wasn't in a DWI. I don't know what that was whenever, there was I wasn't convicted of that as far as I know. It was just in a car accident that I had, but I did not get a DWI. I was not intoxicated in that wreck. I turned into the wrong lane that was not a DWI.
But you were charged with first degree vehicle injury. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. It was not with a DWI though. It was just an accident that I had.
Just a coincidence.
Well, no, not a coincidence. I'm just saying that it was just an accident that I had. I'm just saying that wasn't DWI, but yes, I guess I was charged with that.
Yes, because 1 month earlier you were charged with your fourth DWI. Is that correct?
1 month after that, I think.
Okay, well, I must have written it down wrong.
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay. Let's see here. And then there was another injury. I thought, but maybe it was just the obstruction of a highway. Anyway, you've been on probation or parole or probation a number of times, and it looks like in each time you were revoked for some reason. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So that shows me that you're having trouble following the rules. And then this last time you were sentenced to 15 years in jail, and that was in 2021. And so you've only served 3 years of a 15-year sentence. Is that correct?
Almost 4, yes, sir. I think 3 months shy of 4 years.
Okay. How many times have you been arrested for DWI?
4.
Okay. All right, Madam Chairman, that's all I have.
Stapleton?
Yes, I do have a comment. Yes, ma'am. I know what Mr. Prater was talking about on 7/30 of 2020. It reads, this is arrest and offense report synopsis. Officers responded to a head-on traffic crash located at the intersection of Pontchartrain Drive. A sergeant in Slidell, Louisiana. Upon arrival at the scene and a subsequent search of Miss Cambridge's vehicle, officers located a glass smoking device, small amounts of marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamines. So that's what he was talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that jog your memory?
Yes, ma'am. I just wasn't. All I was saying was that I wasn't charged with a DWI at that arrest. That was the only thing that I was saying. But yes, no.
Yeah. Well, that was lucky you, huh?
Well,
there's some problems there.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
And on 9/30 of 2020, here's another one. Deputies were dispatched to a report of a suspicious vehicle located on Bel Air Boulevard in Slidell. When the deputies arrived, Miss Cambridge was alone in her vehicle with the radio turned up very loudly and the vehicle's transmission was in drive. Deputies were able to wake Miss Cambridge to get her to place the vehicle in park and to begin their investigation. Miss Cambridge was observed to have bloodshot eyes and glassy eyes, extremely slurred speech, and was using the vehicle to steady herself to stand. Miss Cambridge told the investigating officers that she had had multiple health problems, which made her unable to complete a physical sobriety test. So the officers gave her a HGN test for intoxicated drivers. Miss Cambridge failed the HGN test and was placed under arrest for DWI. Once Miss Cambridge was at the Slidell LEC, she was being booked. She stated to the arresting officers, "I probably shouldn't have been driving."
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, you're a danger to society.
I mean,
The reason is any one of the times you've been arrested for DWI, that's not all the times probably that's happened. And at any point there could have been a homicide involved. So that's what makes drugs and alcohol a danger to society, because it does affect other people eventually. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. You're in work release now? Ms.
yes,
Kane?
ma'am.
And
Yes,
you've been for about a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you work?
I work at Sonic.
You've had the same job?
Yes, ma'am. I've had the
Awesome.
same job since I've been here.
Okay. And you, whenever you are released, whether it's on parole or good time, what's your plan?
Well, to go back home to my home, and I have a life partner of 13 years, and I have a safe home environment that's drug-free, and go back to work. And I'm also in ASHTON University. I've been in that, since I've been in here. So I plan to continue with schooling and
Stay sober.
and that's what I'm saying. And to get back into AA and NA, which, I mean, my downfall this time was losing my job during COVID and getting unemployment and having nothing to do and just not dealing and stopping doing the things that I had been doing, which was going to AA and NA and staying,
Right.
I mean,
Even during COVID, they had those meetings everywhere.
right. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. And after I lost my job and started hanging around the wrong people but I mean, I would love to be able to go back to outpatient, which is they communicate with probation and parole. They do random drug screens. And it's about an 8 to 12 month program that's outpatient where I can work and go there.
Okay. So I'm glad to hear that you've given some thought to what your plans are. We'd like to hear from your supporters. Could we hear first from Jasmine, your daughter?
Hi.
Go ahead. What would you like us to know?
I just truly believe that my mom is ready to be reintroduced into society. She has a huge support system, many of which aren't here right now. But like she said, she has her partner who is a wonderful influence on her. My sister, Kristen, who's here today, our partners that are all like ready to be there to support her. I've been around through my mom through all of this, and I think that this time is different. I can just tell that she's ready to, be serious about treatment and have a direction, continue with school and all of that stuff. And I would like to see her be able to come home.
Well, thanks for telling us those things. We'd be glad to hear from you today.
Thank you.
Kristen Vince.
Hey, good morning. So I am Melissa's niece, like a daughter. So I've grown up with her. I mean, she helped raise me. I am just like Jasmine said, I truly believe that she's ready. And I am an LPC, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and we do have the history of addiction that's dominant in our family. And she's lost a lot of loved ones. And because this is the consecutive sentences, and she's always, she's done her time. I do believe that this is the this time now is ready. She's ready. She wants to attend university. She wants to get into an outpatient program. I live in Texas, but our hospital has numerous substance abuse outpatient programs that's with co-occurring disorders, mental health issues. So I'm going to do whatever I can do to support her and make sure that she's compliant and productive and not a danger to society. Maybe before, but I don't believe that at all now. And I truly believe in my heart that she's ready.
Yeah, well, thank you. She's fortunate to have your support. Ms. Cambridge, is there anything you'd like to say before we vote?
I don't know. I mean, I have a letter here from Sergeant May. I don't know if y'all want me to read it, and I have my transcript from ASHTON University. And I just want to say that this 4 years, I've never been away from my family more than 11 months. And this 4 years has been the hardest lesson I've ever learned. But I assure you, I have learned my lesson. I will never, ever put myself in a situation again to be taken away from my daughters, my only grandchild, my partner of 13 years again. I've missed some monumental. I missed my middle daughter graduating college. I missed my baby daughter starting college. I will never, I assure you that I've learned my lesson, and I will never put myself in a situation. And I know what it takes to stay clean because I've had several years of clean time. So I know what it takes to stay clean, and I know exactly where I went wrong and what brought me back down this road. And I will not repeat those things, but I don't know if you want me to read this letter or if you don't want me to read it or.
I think we have a copy of it in the record. Is there a staff member there in the room with you?
Yes, sir. I mean, yes, there's
whatever they have to say about you. Go ahead.
Since she's been here with us at Washita, no incidents, no disciplinaries, highly recommended by Sergeant May. But the classes I believe she would need, we don't offer at our facility. And so if that was what the board was leaning towards, she would need to be transferred. I just want to make you all aware of that.
All right, good. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, Ms. Cambridge, I think that we are prepared to vote, and Mr. Prager will be voting first.
So I appreciate everything that everyone has said in favor of her getting her parole. However, when I think about the fact she's had 4 DWIs already, really the obstruction of the highway should have been a DWI. The accident where someone was injured or the head-on, that should have been a DWI. So having said all of that, the fact that she has failed so many times with having her probation revoked, that I don't in good conscience, representing the people of Louisiana, I can't in good conscience vote to have her released at this point on parole.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Prater. Ms. Stapleton?
Yes, ma'am. Receiving. Okay, what I'd like to say to you, Melissa, is that clearly you have a loving family. And I was so impressed with the fact that your daughter, Kristen, and is fixing to go to college, and your other daughter is fixing to graduate or already has graduated college. So as a mother, you've done a good job. And Jasmine, she said you're like a mother to her in Texas, and that they offer many things in Texas. I listened to with the warden at the where you're at right now spoke about you needing more classes that's not offered for you. And I sure hope we can get those classes for you, because I want you to be a success. As far as the drugs, that is a disease that many people in America suffer from. And as you know, you've missed a lot of things and your family misses you too. So I want you to be a success. And I don't ever want one of these DWIs turn into a homicide, or you can't take those things back. And that's one of these things that we deal with a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas. And I don't want that to be you. So for today, for the reasons that's already been stated by Mr. Prater, I'm going to deny your parole, but with encouragement and just realizing that it's a disease that you'll fight the rest of your life.
All right, Cambridge, I'm encouraged with what the officer there said about you, about your work in the work release program. You're doing well, and I'm really encouraged with what your family has said about you. But I do agree with my colleagues, based on your history of revocation, and the opposition that's been expressed. My vote today is going to be to deny you parole. Wish you well. Good luck to you.
Well, how do I get shipped to another facility where there's no classes offered here?
We can make that request. We can't, we can't order it, but we will certainly make that request on your behalf. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
That concludes our business in Washita. We'll sign off at 11:36.
Oh my gosh, it's these hearings that it's strange how they fall into a pattern. We've seen so many of these DUI type of hearings, and what they seem to have in common, the majority of them, is kind of like this feeling that they feel that they're wrongfully locked up, that they don't really have a problem, that they've done their time, that they're the victim. I mean, it actually comes down to the point where she's like, no, I've never heard anyone in a DUI accident. And then the sheriff reads out the case, and yeah, well, you turned onto a street, one with the wrong side of the street, slammed into a car, and oh yeah, but I was completely sober. I mean, yeah, I know I have a risk of an injury or whatever it was that she got, and there's no information that I can share on this case. There's nothing in the books. That she did get a 15-year sentence, which was a plea deal. Yes, that is quite a long time, but she was facing an habitual offender, which could have gotten her. Well, we've seen people given life for habitual offenders, so she knew that she was screwed, and she took the deal. And they said, hey, you'll have parole eligibility after serving 4 years, and maybe she thought she'd get parole, but yeah, not happening on this book. And I kind of like this panel sitting together. It's a nice mix. Miss Renatza, the sheriff, and then the victim survivor advocate in Miss Stapleton, who continues to impress me. She actually read through the police report, and that is interesting. And I would just love to know what happened there. How do you get into an accident, have 3 DUIs already on your record? They find meth and heroin, and pot in the car, and you don't get a DUI? So, like, did they initially charge her with DUI, and the DA just dropped it down because they didn't have, they didn't go through the process of proving it? Like, I'm curious to know how that happens, but there are consequences to, that, because she ends up getting in the car just a month later and getting another DUI. And who knows, imagine if she had killed someone. You would have said, how is it possible that she's still out on the road, a month after hurting someone in a crash? So, I am confused about how that possibly could have happened. And we should say that we're all really lucky that she didn't kill someone in her next DUI. And I think I would have blamed the system. And now the system's doing what they have to do. It sounds harsh. It seems harsh, but like the sheriff said, as it was a Miss Stapleton, actually, she said, you're a danger to society. Mic drop. It was like, so, yeah, you're a danger. You're getting in this, whatever, 5,000-pound bullet and just driving it, just praying that you're not going to kill someone. I mean, they found her the other time she's they all they wrote her was obstruction of a highway. How was that not a DUI? They found her in the car with the shifter in drive, and she's just sitting there in the middle of the road. How do you not? I don't understand how she even got away with those. And then you have her supporters, even what was it, her niece, who comes up there and she's supposed to be a professional. She's saying she's ready to come out. I mean, she's only been locked up since 2020. She has taken no programs. I didn't hear any mention of like a legitimate plan when she got out, what we're used to saying. I mean, this was a Mr. Marabella field day. If Mr. Marabella would have been on this case, man, it would have been a little bit. I actually would have preferred the Mr. Marabella hearing for this one, because this is him. I mean, he knows how to handle these DWI cases. They're gonna want her to transfer, and that probably means she's gonna have to leave work release. But we do see it for whatever reason, DUI cases are given the work release options. But I don't know. It's also strange that they seem to not really be able to get the programming when you're on the work release. So it's like it seems like a little bit of a weird bug in the system, if you will. I don't know. But I didn't comment on the format where we can see them close up. It reminds me of the good old days, in the original hearings. I don't know why they're doing this. If it was because I don't know why, but I like it. I like the close up. Get a good look at the sheriff and at Carolyn. And I think Miss Renatza said, "No, I'm showing up to work." She's still there. Classic Miss Renatza. Anyways, thank you, Richard, for providing this info, recording it, placing the comments, especially while I'm traveling. As we know, it just wouldn't be possible without Sir Richard. And with that, I'll let you go.